Hey guys, I'm Trey.
And I'm Sean.
And we're here to bring you episode 3 of The Commissioners. Today we will recap week 10 and bring you week 11 preview. First, we're going to start off the segment with the top plays. So coming in at number 5, Marcus Mariota flipping to DeMarco Murray to throw a touchdown pass to Delanie Walker. Very impressive. You know, I didn't know DeMarco Murray had those kind of skills to throw a touchdown pass like that.
My number 5, also DeMarco Murray, the Titans' first play from scrimmage. Murray takes the handoff and goes about 75 yards straight past the Packers defense. They scored a lot of points on the Packers defense. Packers are not looking good.
Next, we have the Chiefs and Panthers. Cam Newton barrels through all these tackles against the end zone, and even though he got that, the Panthers came up short. They're having a rough season so far.
My number 4 play, Drew Brees drops back and throws a long pass to Brandon Cooks, who catches the ball in between 2 defenders. Amazing throw by Drew Brees. The Saints end up blowing this game.
My number 3, we have the Panthers and Chiefs again. We have Cam Newton throwing an interception to defensive back Eric Berry, and Eric Berry runs. It looks like he's going to get tackled, but he spins twice out of the tackles, and eventually, as you're going to see, he's going to run into the end zone, and this really propels the Chiefs to get the win here in Carolina.
My number 3 play is also a Chiefs defensive play. Cam Newton throws to Kelvin Benjamin, who catches the ball, turns, and Marcus Peters completely just rips it out of his hands. What a play by Marcus Peters here. He gets thrown down on the ground, but let's watch that again. Just completely takes it, eats Kelvin Benjamin's lunch, just completely rips it away from him. Awesome play.
Coming in at number 2, we have the Buccaneers and Bears. This was actually probably one of Jay Cutler's only good plays of the game. He has a 50-yard Hail Mary pass to Cameron Meredith to end the half. It was an impressive play.
All right, my next play, a little hook and ladder with the Jets. Brandon Marshall tosses to Bilal Powell for the touchdown.
The last play, we have the Broncos and Saints. This one was my favorite play. We have a blocked extra point by the Broncos, and Parks takes it back for the 2-point conversion and the win. Now, if people are confused on how this is for 2 points, if you block an extra point, it's not like you don't run it back for a touchdown, you actually run it back for 2 points.
All right, my number 1 play, Big Ben with the fake spike and throws to Antonio Brown for what was going to be the game-winning touchdown until Ezekiel Elliott ran it in. But that's an awesome play by the Steelers. Again.
So our next segment of the show is our game picks from Week 10. And me and Sean actually split the game picks for this week 7-7. We split it right down the middle. And for the past 3 weeks, the 3 game picks we've had, we have a combined 22 games each so far through the Commissioners season that we've done so far for game picks. So we are very tight on the game picks. It has been close the whole time. Some weeks I win, some weeks he wins, but right now it's tied up. And now we're going to go into our game picks for this week. So our first game, we have Thursday night. We have a good game Thursday night. We have the Saints traveling to Charlotte to face the Panthers. In this game, I'm going to have to go with the Panthers. I know I pick them almost every week, and they did let me down last week, but I think they're going to get back on track eventually, and I think they're going to get back on track against a weak Saints defense. I think they're going to be able to get it done at home Thursday night.
Yeah, I also agree. I think the Panthers are going to win this game. Both teams had brutal losses last week. The Panthers probably had the worst loss because they were up by 17 against the Chiefs. They ended up losing. But I think Ron Rivera is really going to yell at his team this week in practice and get them ready, and I expect them to beat the Saints.
The next game we have is the Steelers and the Browns. This one's self-explanatory. The Browns are 0-10. They're not going to win this game, even though Ben Roethlisberger has been a little banged up. They almost beat Dallas last week, who's now number 1 in the power rankings, and you know, any team, regardless that plays the Browns, will get an automatic win. So you got to go with the Steelers in this one.
I agree. You can't pick the Browns. You can never pick the Browns. They're 0-10. They're the worst team in football. The Steelers, Big Ben's getting over his injury. They did lose last week, but I think they're going to respond well on the road against Cleveland. And yeah, the Browns are just a terrible team, and I can't think of any reason to pick them.
The next matchup we have is the Ravens traveling to Dallas to face the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 3-1 at home, and they came off of a big win last week at Pittsburgh. I expect them to keep the momentum They are 8-1 this season. I expect them to get another win this Sunday.
Yeah, the Cowboys are definitely the most surprising team in the league. I did not expect them to be 8-1. I think they're going to keep it rolling against Baltimore. They're actually a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year, which sounds crazy to say. But Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott have been performing very well. I'm going to pick the Cowboys. Dak lives matter.
The next game we have the Jags traveling to the Detroit to face the Lions. The Jags are 1-3 on the road, and the Lions are 3-1 at home. I'm going to have to go with the Lions in this one. The Jags have been too inconsistent. Allen Robinson's their only source of offense, and you can't really have one player that does it for you, like all around. The Lions have too much to offer. I think they're going to get an easy win at home.
Yeah, so this is the toilet bowl of the week. Two not very good teams, especially the Jaguars. I'm actually going to pick the Jaguars to upset the Lions here. When I watch them play, they've had a lot of losses, but they've been right there at the end at some of them. And I just look at them and I think they can't be this bad for that long. They have to have one game where they just completely put it together, and I think that the Lions can be beaten. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and pick the Jaguars.
The next matchup that we have is the Titans traveling to Indianapolis to face the Colts. The Titans had a huge win last week against the Packers. I did not expect it. I don't think anybody else did. The Colts are coming off of a bye week. I think Andrew Luck's going to have a big game in this one, and so will Frank Gore. I think they're going to be able to beat the Titans.
I agree. I'm going to take the Colts. The Titans are a very inconsistent team. You never know what you're going to get from Marcus Mariota. He did very well last week, but he's made some mistakes this year. I don't think they're very good. I think the Packers just had a really off day, so I'm going to pick the Colts.
So the next matchup we have is the Bills and Bengals, and this one I'm going to have to go with the Bills. LaShawn McCoy's finally back and healthy. That's their workhorse running back, so I think they'll be able to get it done against the Bengals, who have been very inconsistent. They just came off of a loss against the Giants, and I expect them to lose this week also.
I agree. I'm going to take the Bills. Cincy's a very weird team. You think they're going to be good, and they just can't win. Vontae is perfect, is too aggressive, he gets too many penalties. The Bills, they're up and down this year, but I still like Rex Ryan, even though he's a division rival of the Patriots. I think he's a pretty good coach, and I expect the Buffalo Bills to beat the Bengals.
Guys, this is going to be a weird week because me and Sean actually have a lot of the same game picks. That never happens, so we're going to see. We'll see how things go this week. The next game that we have is the Buccaneers traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The Buccaneers are 3-1 on the road, and the Chiefs are 4-0 at home. Based off of last week's matchup against Carolina, I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs on this one. The Chiefs have been on a roll lately. The Buccaneers, even though they have a good record on the road, I think they're going to get lost here, and I think the Chiefs are going to stay undefeated at home. Their defense is very good, and I think they'll be able to stop Mike Evans and Jameis Winston from throwing all over them.
I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I have a personal rule when picking NFL games. You can't trust Andy Reid for too long. He's been looking good lately, but he does, every once in a while, he'll pull an Andy Reid kind of move where he just completely blows the game, and I expect that this is the game he's going to do that. Kansas City got lucky last week when they came back. The Panthers just let them back in the game. The Bucs are kind of an iffy team, but I expect the Buccaneers to win.
Next, we have the Bears traveling to New York to face the Giants. The Giants are 4-1 at home, and the Bears are 0-5 away. The Bears star player Alshon Jeffrey is out for 4 games on suspension due to the substance abuse policy. Due to that, they're even weaker than they usually are, and the Giants came off of a big win at home against the Bengals last week. The Giants are on a roll. They're 6-3 this season. I think they're going to get another big win at home. They have a good home record to prove it, and they're going to keep it up.
I agree. Bears lost Kyle Long last week and Alshon Jeffrey to suspension. Those are their 2 best players, and they were already terrible without those 2 guys. So I think there's absolutely no way that the Bears can win this game. I'm going to pick Giants for that reason.
Next, we have the Cardinals traveling to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The Vikings are 3-1 at home, but I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals on this one. The Vikings are on a 4-game losing streak, and I expect it to go to 5 after this. The Vikings have been horrible lately. They just haven't shown any type of promise anywhere on offense or defense. Even though they were close to the Redskins, they were never able to pull it out at the end, and I think that's going to bite them through the stretch of the season. I don't even think they'll make playoffs at this point, and I don't think they're going to win this week either.
Yeah, everyone was talking about the Vikings and their hot start, and then, as Trey said, they lost 4 in a row. I have to pick the Cardinals here because the Vikings have not been looking good as of late. I'm not sure what's going on with them. Sam Bradford hasn't been doing great. Their defense, not as good as it was at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to pick the Cardinals.
The next match we have is the Dolphins going to Los Angeles to face the Rams. I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins in this one. Jay Ajayi has been a very good running back, arguably one of the top running backs in the league throughout this point. So I expect Jay Ajayi to be able to run for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns on Sunday. I don't think the Rams defense is good enough to stop Jay Ajayi.
I disagree. I'm going to take the Rams. They are at home, and I have another reason for picking them. Jeff Fisher never goes too far away from being 500. The Rams are 4-5. Jeff Fisher loves to be exactly at 500, so he's going to make this team win. That's why I'm picking the Rams.
Next, we have the Patriots traveling to San Francisco to face the 49ers. The Patriots are 4-0 on the road, and I'm going to have to go with them in this matchup. Even though they might not have Gronkowski in this game, I still think they're way too much for the 49ers to be able to beat. The 49ers are 1-8 on the season. They have not looked good at all. This is kind of a cupcake matchup for the Patriots. I think they're going to get an easy win on the road.
Yeah, I expect the Patriots to absolutely kill the 49ers. You can't bet on the Patriots to lose 2 games in a row, especially when Bill Belichick is angry, which I think he is after that loss to Seattle. And I think they're going to come out and beat them by at least 20 points, probably more. So go Patriots. I'm going to pick them.
The next matchup we have is the Eagles traveling to Seattle to face the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 4-0 at home. It is so hard to play in Seattle, and I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to get it done. They had a big win last week against the Falcons, but I still don't think they're going to be able to win at home against the Seahawks, especially since the Seahawks just came off of a big win against the Patriots last week.
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but the Seahawks did look very good against the Patriots. They played pretty good defense against Brady. They pressured him, and their running game was very good. Whether that's because the Patriots' defense is terrible, I'm not sure. I don't think they're terrible, but I'm going to pick the Seahawks here. Like Trey said, they're tough to beat at home. And the Eagles, even though they beat the Falcons, you just never know what you're going to get with Philadelphia, so I'm going to stick with the Seahawks.
Our next game is a very intriguing Sunday night matchup between the Packers and the Redskins. I know I pick the Packers every week, and I know they let me down every week, but again, I'll say go Pack, go. I'm going to go with the Packers. They're going to have to get back on track eventually, and I think this week's the week that they're going to do it on Sunday Night Football in front of everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Packers for the same reason. They can't be this bad. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'd say probably the second best behind Brady. They're just so talented, and I'm not sure why they're losing that much, and I think one of these weeks they're just going to get back on track. I think they can do that against the Redskins, so I'm going to pick the Packers.
So the last game we have is between the Texans and the Raiders in Mexico City. This is actually the second game in NFL history that has taken place in Mexico City. The last one was in 2005 between the Cardinals and 49ers. So this one's a big game. It's a change of environment for the NFL, so it should be a fun one to watch. But in this one, I'm going to have to pick the Raiders. The Raiders came off of a huge win 2 weeks ago against the Broncos, who are the defending Super Bowl champions. And, they exploited their defense. They did everything that they had to do to get that win at home against Denver. And I think that even though the Texans have had a good season, they're going to run into a wall when they face the Raiders on Monday night.
Like Trey said, this game is in Mexico City, so buenas noches to all of our viewers in Mexico. I'm sure you guys are watching the show. I'm going to pick the Raiders here. I think they're too talented. They've been on a roll. Houston, their defense, they got a lot of good players, but they haven't been able to put it together. I don't trust Bill O'Brien. I don't think he's a very good coach. And I think the Raiders are having a surprisingly good year, so I'm going to pick Oakland.
So we're going to have some good game picks this week. Me and Sean have a lot of them. It's going to come down to a few games on who wins for this week. So our last segment of the show, we're going to be giving you our Fantasy Perfect lineups for this week, Week 11. But first, we're going to recap what happened in Week 10 for our lineups. And I totaled up the results, and Sean won 108-70. It was a rough loss for me this week. I didn't pick the right players in the right places. I'm going to have to do better this week. And the total prior to Thanksgiving break, I have a total of 235 points so far, and Sean has a total of 269 points. So he has a 34-point lead going into our break.
Good math.
Yeah, I did that all without a calculator. So now we have our Fantasy Perfect lineup. Coming in at quarterback, I have to go with Tom Brady. going against the 49ers. You know, he will exploit the 49ers defense very badly. I have a feeling on Sunday. I think that the 49ers defense is one of the worst in the league. They have bad offense and defense, but Brady's so good that I can see him easily throwing for 4 or 5 touchdowns on Sunday. Coming in at my running back 1 slot, I have Le'Veon Bell going against the Browns. The Browns defense is also atrocious. Le'Veon Bell is a great player. He should be able to put up a lot of points on Sunday. Coming in at my running back 2 slot, I have Ezekiel Elliott going against the Ravens. Elliott had a 38-point outburst last Sunday against the Steelers, and he is not going to show any signs of slowing down from there. He's produced every single week, and I especially expect him to produce this week against the Ravens, coming off of that big game. Coming in at my wide receiver 1 slot, I have Odell Beckham going against the Bears defense. This is simply a matchup pick again. The Bears defense hasn't been very good. Odell Beckham's a great player. I expect Eli to throw 2 or 3 touchdowns to him on Sunday. The next slot I have for wide receiver 2, I have Dante Moncrief from the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Titans. Fun fact, in all of the games that Moncrief has played, he's gotten a touchdown each one. He's been injured for most weeks, but the 3 games he played, he got a touchdown. So I expect him to get another touchdown or 2 this Sunday against the Titans. Coming into my tight end slot, I have Delanie Walker going against the Colts defense. Delanie Walker has been up and down this season, but I expect him to have a good game on Sunday. He had a touchdown pass last game, and I expect him to get a 1 or 2 this game. Coming in at my flex, I have Latavius Murray. The Raiders rank 1st in run blocking, and Latavius Murray scored 3 touchdowns against arguably the best defense in the NFL. So if he can score 3 touchdowns against the Broncos defense, he can score 3 touchdowns against any defense. So I expect him to have a big night on Monday night against the Texans in Mexico City. And coming in at my defense, I have the Giants going against the Bears. Alshon Jeffrey, like I said, he's suspended for 4 games. They don't really have any source of offense. Jay Cutler throws 2 or 3 interceptions per game. I expect him to throw a few more this game. The Giants will return him for touchdowns. That will get them more defensive points on their defense, so I expect the Giants to have a big day defensively.
All right, for my quarterback, I have Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously, very good quarterback, and he's playing the Browns. And one of my rules is you always like to pick players who are playing the Browns. My running back, LaShawn McCoy, I think the Cincinnati defense is going to have trouble containing him. He's a great pass-catching running back, and he can run in between the tackles. He's very shifty. Another shifty running back, Theo Riddick. He's playing Jacksonville. That's another one of my rules. I love picking players that play against the Jaguars because they're so terrible. Even though I think Jaguars are going to win the game, I think Riddick's going to have a big day. Wide receiver 1 is A.J. Green, obviously one of the best receivers in the league, and Buffalo's secondary can definitely be beat. We saw that the second time the Patriots played them. They lit the secondary up, so I like A.J. Green to get a lot of big catches. T.Y. Hilton is my next receiver. He's playing the Titans. I think the Titans are really going to cool off after they played Green Bay. I don't expect them to do that well. I think the Colts will win, and Andrew Luck's favorite target, T.Y. Hilton, is going to get a lot of yards. As far as my tight end, I like Jordan Reed. He hasn't done well very recently, but he's such a great talent. Vernon Davis has been taking some of his catches and some of his yards, but I still think that Green Bay obviously has been struggling lately, and Jordan Reed is so athletic, and I'd be surprised if he's not in the end zone this weekend. For my flex, I have Stephon Diggs, who plays for the Vikings, wide receiver. They're playing the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to win because the Vikings haven't been doing very well, but Stephon Diggs is such a great talent. I think the Cardinals defense definitely not as good as they were last year, so I think they can be beat, especially on the outside with Stephon Diggs, so I expect him to have a big game. And finally, because I always pick a Patriots player, I'm going to have to pick their defense. Their defense did not play well against the Seahawks. I think Bill Belichick's going to really get on them to perform, and their defense coordinator, Matt Patricia, I expect a big change between last week and this week versus the 49ers. I think they're going to force a lot of turnovers from Colin Kaepernick. So that's my lineup.
And going off of that, guys, I know we show you our lineups every week, but we also want to see your lineups. So send in your lineups to stagstv@gmail.com. if you send them in and you get more points than me and Sean by the end of the year, you'll get a big prize. You got to beat us out though, which is a hard thing, I know, but if you can beat us, then you'll get a prize at the end of the year. Thank you for watching the show, The Commissioners. Next week, we will not be giving you an episode because it's Thanksgiving break, but we will give you an episode the week after, so be on the lookout for that.